changed everything. The way I walk, the way I breathe. Feel my fate shift into the night. But here I am, same old thing. Sinking deep, no ecstasy. Reality haunts the living mind. If I saw another day, only to scream into the night. Nothing ever tries to change, even if I want to realize. 'Cause I've been sitting here, same old ways, taking off without the same mistake. Darling, when you go away, it won't be as simple for you.
Yo, guys, Old Man G, RDS here. I'm joined by the Don Man. I'm joined by the big Don, Don Smoke, Man City fans, becoming a legend for the City fans. Don Smoke, man. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. You know it's good this side of Manchester, man. How's it on the other side?
I can't actually hate that because like I'm looking at this transfer window right now, and I'm looking at this United club, and as you probably know, I happen to be currently on loan to Real Madrid right now, and there's a reason for that. So City on the up, they are in a better position. The only thing that's missing is that Champions League, isn't it, Don? Isn't that right, buddy?
Man, forget about all of that. First, it's mental health month, right? First, we're now praying for you guys. We're beginning to pray for you guys to do
right.
Like, it's not funny anymore. Like we're worried about you guys.
I see.
Very concerned.
I really appreciate that. I mean, the only thing I'd say is you need to at least be at a certain level of trophy before you get concerned about Manchester United. That makes sense. Like, get to that level of championships, and then we can we can talk about who's in the better position or not, if that makes any sense. When you have 20 league titles and 3 Champions Leagues, it's difficult,
bro. But the sad thing is, most of those titles were before men were born.
You mean in 2012? In 2012, is that like?
No, I said most, not all of them.
Most. But I mean, in the Premier League era, because we're talking about when the Premier League era started, the late 90s, when people were watching color TV and it was fine, it was good football, and people doing that stuff, and when we started winning trophies, and Man City were. Well, actually, it's a good question. Where were Man City as a football club during those times? Like, do you remember how were they? How were they, brother? What was going on there?
No, they were getting ready for this late surge.
They were right. I see.
And preparation, well prepared. You can see.
Did you know that? Just before you guys took over, Gareth Southgate beat you guys by, was it 6-1 with Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, man. Hey, those were sad days, man. As the rain, after a long night of rain, the sun always rises up and shines.
That is true. I mean, it helps when there's oil and money and no FFP to get to that level. But
it's oil, man. It's nature. It's nature to the rescue. Oil is a natural resource. Nature is on our side.
Right, guys, for those who are tuning in, we are going to have a debate about who is the greater manager, Sir Alex Ferguson versus Pep Guardiola. It was going to be Mourinho, but HH had to bail, or maybe he was scared. I don't know. I have to have another conversation about it. Maybe Michael fear of getting smoked. So we are going to watch Sir Alex Ferguson versus Pep instead. If you're new to the channel, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter and X and so on. And Don, where can they find you, brother?
No, I'm on my social. You can find me at Don Smoke on Twitter. I'm normally just out and about in these YouTube streets.
Right, guys. So we just quickly before we start, let me quickly go on some comments first. It's Sir Alex. Eddie says it's Sir Alex winning at the moment because of longevity in Prem, but Pep's playing style is superior. Okay, and Eddie's a United fan. That's a good point. Actually, play style. Big up RDS, hit the like, guys. Tom was watching on Facebook. Says Sir Alex Ferguson. Eddie says, "Let's have a good fight, guys. Keep it clean." Sammy says,
no, I'll try.
Sorry?
I'll try to be clean.
Sammy says, Pep will most likely retire as the GOAT, but Fergie's still number one for me. Okay. And English Challenge FC says, Pep clear. Really? That's very surprising coming from you, given that Pep is Spanish. And well, I guess Fergie isn't technically English. She is Scottish. So I don't know whether that's the reason, because you're usually like 4 English players, English Challenge FC. So you need to let me know. Boxel says Guardiola taking Aberdeen to a league title plus zero glory plus breaking up the old firm cartel means Pep is clear. I could see the sarcasm in that box. You know, I think it's a fair point, buddy. It's you know we got to think about that. Actually, that's another thing. I've figured out the 5th category. Actually, degree of difficulty. There you go.
No, but in hindsight, right? That's easy to say. But now the thing is, the further we go back in time in football, right, there's hardly a time where you would find, let's say, for example, the best players all in one club. So even your dead clubs would have at least 1 or 2 or a few players who are actually ballers from the country or the state, right? So back then, it was easier for even like your traditionally smaller teams to do these things compared to now. Because like now, even the finances are distributed almost like a monopoly kind of sense. So it's hard to find that Aberdeen love story nowadays than back then.
Yes, but then if anything, then that means that back then it was harder. Because if clubs were the same or close to the same level, because now all you have to like let's take the Premier League aside. Look at like say the Fred League One, for example. There's no way. Okay, well, I mean, there are some ways because PSG can flop sometimes, but in generally speaking, the financial dominance that they have over that league, there's no reason why they should lose that league title because of the sheer amount of money that's there. So they should win. Whereas in the 90s, 80s, etc., because the financial disparity wasn't as vast, you're right, it was probably closer. But then that you could also make an argument that would mean that it was therefore harder because smaller teams had good players that could G up and could potentially take it.
So not necessarily harder, but more doable. Like for example, a Leicester kind of love story would be more doable. Not that it's more harder. It's like, let's say we go in and all of our, let's say for example, there's 5
it's
opponents.
More competitive though, isn't it? It's more competitive.
No. Let me give you this analogy, right? Let's say we go into a tournament, right?
Okay.
And our win probability, we 5 teams, and all of us, it's 20% each, right?
Okay. Yep.
So now, one of us winning doesn't mean it's more hard. It means it's more doable for any of us to win. Whereas now you have higher probabilities for certain teams. Not that it's more easier or harder to do. It's just back then it was more doable because almost everyone had a chance compared to now.
I'm sort of I don't know. I sort like if I can if the thing about the problem with that analogy, bro, is that like if you are that team that like if you could go into a tournament and like you can almost guarantee you're gonna win it because of all the backing, then for that team, it's obviously easier because they can just rock up into that tournament and be like, yeah, we can just stroll to the final with very little competition. And on the balance of probability, there's a good chance in the final we're going to get that trophy. Whereas back in
Okay.
the day, you'd be like, oh well, we could win, but then there's also an equal and more likely chance that we could be knocked out. So therefore,
Yeah,
it is
but
harder for
but
everyone in general.
okay. Let me extend my analogy to the Champions League, for example, right? Every season when we go in the Champions League, there's at least about six, seven teams that could win it, right?
Okay.
Like there's certain teams whereby we know they're not gonna win. Let's say, for example, a Club Rouge, they're not gonna win it.
No.
Like
Yeah. Okay.
regardless of what they do, right? Literally, basically, UEFA would have to ban all other teams for them to win. It's
The
that
only
simple.
thing I would say about the difference, we got to compare the qualification methods, because I think before probably the 2000s, um, in order to qualify for the Champions League, you needed to win
Yeah,
your domestic league. It was only given to the winners of their respective leagues. Was obviously now
right.
it's like top four, whatever, whatever. So there is an argument that can be made that again, it was harder back then because there were less spaces, and in order for you to even get to the Champions League, you had to win your domestic league. Whereas now,
But
like Liverpool, for example, Liverpool won the Champions League, but they didn't win the league the season before. So under the old rules, Liverpool wouldn't have even been in the conversation for winning the Champions League because
yeah, but RDS. With that said, it's not that it was harder to win; it was harder to get in the competition. It's more
mm,
like the Club World Cup, right? Whereby getting in the Club World Cup is hard, but winning that thing is not hard.
is it because okay, if you take the 90s and the
Yeah.
2000s, you can't say that like the quality of the Premier League, Serie A, um, Bundesliga. Okay, maybe Bundesliga and the Liga was bad going in. We had some really good Barca, Madrid teams, good
Yes.
Juventus teams, good AC Milan's, um, obviously United, Arsenal, Invincibles, and so on. So like, I don't think I think that if you're saying that the top of each league was only able to qualify, we're still talking about some really good quality teams.
Yes, but the thing is, the less games you play, the higher chance is of winning a cup, right? Because it's almost coin toss like, right? Let's say, for example, like now in the Champions League, you probably play about 7, 8 games, right? You play your no, not even I think 12 games because you're gonna play your 6 group games.
Yeah,
Then you have both legs in round of 16, quarters and semis,
yeah,
right? So that's now the thing is back then, almost your group stage the number of the games you played during the group stage is the whole tournament because of the number of teams that are in that competition,
yeah.
right? So
But then, to push back on that, because obviously there are more teams and there's a more breadth of quality. The number that like it's like you said at the start, like Club Brugge. So you're now playing a Club Brugge. You're now playing a I don't know, Spartak Moscow, as opposed to you're playing a Barcelona or a Juve or an Inter Milan. So yes, you have more games, but the quality of opposition that you're playing against is still significantly weaker until you get to say the quarterfinal, when you then start to come across against teams that are better.
yeah, but now put everything into context, right? Because remember, you're playing this across your season, right? So there's things like injuries, there's
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
fatigue and whatnot, right? The less games you play, the better you're gonna be in a physical condition to win these games.
Okay.
Like for example, most Liverpool fans they use fatigue as the reason for not winning the mythical quad that they thought they were gonna win, right? Whereas back then you'd play less games. So by the time you go through these games, you haven't hit that 60 mark of playing 60 games within the same season. So is it the thing with the Champions League or any cup, there's always an element of luck, right?
Yes, yeah,
But you would know that the longer your run goes, the less your luck would is likely to get you across,
yeah.
right?
So
Like
in
for
the
example, let's say,
so
go
I was
on.
going to say so in the context of obviously because this is obviously Sir Alex Ferguson versus Pep. When you look at the degree of difficulty that Sir Alex Ferguson went to achieve for his Champions League success both times, compared to say, well, we have to look obviously at Pep Guardiola's achieving his Champions League success at Barca because obviously he hasn't won a Champions League at Man City as of yet. It is what it is. Can we say that the degree of difficulty for Sir Alex Ferguson and what he achieved with the squad was harder than say Pep Guardiola was, given the amount of
No,
money he spent and given the talent
no,
that he had available to him.
I say no because he had to beat Sir Alex both times to win the Champions League. So
Okay,
that
yeah,
just
but
puts Sir Alex out of the water.
right.
It's not like,
Okay. Okay. Let me put that to go. Okay. Do you want me to show that 2011 team that Pep Guardiola beat in the final? That team that had like that 40-year-old Ryan Giggs in the midfield. 40-year-old
right,
Ryan Giggs in the midfield and like late 30s like Ferdinand, like Rio Ferdinand, man. You know, so the fact that
right.
Fergie got that team to a final in of itself was an accomplishment. Whereas
No,
obviously Pep Guardiola had your Messi's, your Javis, your Iniestas, some of the greatest.
No.
Mm.
I'm gonna stop you there. Right.
Okay.
In that team that Pep beat, we had Mascherano as a centre back. Right. We
Okay.
had Abidal left back who just came from his was it liver or kidney? They came from operating him. Right.
Okay.
So now the thing is the midfield was world class, right? You had Busquets,
Yeah,
Xavi, and Iniesta, their peak,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But overall team, you had Valdez, you had Mascherano, and Pedro. So basically, if you remove Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta and Busquets, it's an ordinary, and probably maybe Dani Alves. It's an
Let me
ordinary team.
let me okay, let me get this lineup up. Let me get this for those who are in the chat as well, so you can also have your say and pick which one. That was
Right.
2000.
I'll place it in the chat. I have the lineup open of both teams.
Oh, you got the lineup open, do you? I've got. Just screen share it so that. Oh, so I'll just screen share it now. 2 seconds. Okay. So Van der Sar, Fabio, bro. Fabio, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, but
Fabio.
you got Ferdinand and Vidic.
Okay, no. These are like Ferdinand went literally a season after this. Ferdinand went to QPR. He was done. These guys were tired. Valencia, 40-year-old Giggs, Ji-Sung Park, and Hernandez.
Bro.
And now let's look at this like peak PK, right? Dani Alves. Okay,
Yes.
you've got your world-class midfield, and then Villa, Messi and Pedro. Nah, man, come on.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Wait. Let me. Would you consider Pedro world class?
Would you consider Park Ji-sung world class?
No. You have to answer that.
Because like I don't consider Pedro world class, but you know what? I consider him better than Hernandez.
No, but remember Hernandez was one of your best, was like an ollie for you guys around this time.
Like that's the thing. Is he an impact sub? But like
yes, but I'm saying don't downplay these players, right? Because the thing is this, right? This squad, they were these players were in a system which made all of them look world class. Because Mascherano is not a defender.
Oh, sorry. Right. This is a good point as well to mention. Squads were also smaller back then. So that is something to mention. So that they were.
Pep has always had a small squad.
Is it no? Pep what? Pep has always had a small squad. Don, you got
Yeah,
to
like
wash that mouth out with soap, man, bro.
no, no,
Wash that,
no. All right. Okay,
no.
RDS. On your bench, right? On your bench, you had Nani. This is when Nani was balling, right? You had Scholes, right?
Who was also approaching 40. But you need to
Yeah,
put
no, no.
the ages. You need to put the ages. You got Pete
And
Scholes is fine. Okay. 40-year-old
and
Scholes.
you had Michael Owen. You had Owen on the bench as well.
Are you trolling me, bro?
I'm not.
Are you
Owen was on the bench.
are you actually trolling me mentioning Michael Owen? That bum that was injured all the time.
Listen, he was fit enough to make your bench.
Owen. No man, like Don. Alex Ferguson has won this round, man.
Listen,
He's got to, man. He's got to. Come on,
okay,
let's
listen, we can even go 2 years back. 2 years back in '09, when they played each other with a much more younger version of your players.
okay.
And you guys already had the ball.
We're talking about degree of difficulty, though. I'm not talking. We'll get to the tactics and Mandarin thing. We'll get
Yeah.
to that. I'm not saying on, but in terms of the dud, the degree of difficulty, you've got to say that with what, certainly in the Champions League, with what Sir Alex Ferguson achieved, the squad that he had, like that he had more of a dud, a degree of difficulty than Pep Guardiola.
But this squad just came from winning the league.
Yeah, but I mean,
So it's not like they're bums. You won the league.
No. Of course not. But I mean, in terms of obviously, in terms of the competition, and also we've got to bear in mind, like we look at these players, like how many world-class players were there in these Manchester United squads going up to say, if you look at your treble run, for example, look at the treble one. You can't tell me that there was a world-class Manchester United player in that treble one in 1999.
Wasn't York playing? You guys,
York was York world class though. But
the thing is, you can't have it both ways, right?
Zidane was playing.
No. You can't have it both ways, right?
Okay.
Because whenever you have conversations of the best Premier League teams, you bring up that '99 squad, right? But then now, if they're good enough to be one of the best Premier League teams, then it can't be done. For it to be a degree of difficulty, you need to do it.
No, because Premier League, Premier League is different. If you're talking about the whole, if you're talking about the whole like campaign, that's different in terms of one of the best squads. Then yes, although I'd make the argument that like, as you yourself said, you still needed a degree of luck in the circumstances, and the fact that it hasn't been repeated shows that there's a degree of difficulty involved. Like it's like Arsenal with the Invincibles. That's dud because it hasn't been repeated.
Yeah, but
they were a good squad.
No, but I'm saying you need to put context whenever you say dud, because when you look at that Arsenal squad, that squad was good enough to win every trophy that was available.
That's true. That's true, but like,
so then
it still doesn't mean that it's easy to do something like that.
No. What I'm trying to say is this, right? It's like one of those once in a million moments. Once in a million moments. Let's say, for example, you have the best chef, you have the best occasion, you have the best servant, of course, it won't be hard to prepare the best meal ever made. It's not like you have the chef, there's missing pots, there's no electricity in the complex. Whenever you say degree of difficulty, I'm looking for obstacles.
And there were obstacles. There were obstacles in that treble one. There was a fantastic, like in the fantastic Arsenal side in that semi-final that I would actually make an argument were a better squad than the Invincible squad that won the title a year later. And then in the Champions League, you're talking about going through a maybe not peak Barca, but a solid Barcelona side. I would argue near peak Juventus because they've been nowhere near as good since then. And then obviously a Bayern Munich side that had if in my opinion, one of the best goalkeepers, and I wouldn't necessarily say squads, but certainly one of the best goalkeepers of all time in Amir Khan. So they didn't beat bums all the way up to that final, and that's not even including the fact that I think Scholes and Keane were both missing from that final as well. Two of their most important midfielders. So when you take that into account, and you're going on and winning the pressure of then winning, the treble, compared to say Pep, who, you know, that 100-point season, that treble winning season, there's no reason why City shouldn't have won the Champions League. But it didn't happen,
Yeah, but
despite
the thing
having the
is,
best squad in Europe.
no, but the thing is, in cups, there's luck. There's an element of luck that we have. Yes, there's tactics and everything, but there's luck as well. That things have to go your way. Else, if that wasn't so, then the best teams will always win the cups, which
But
doesn't
why?
happen.
But why is it? But what I would say is that why is it that like, because especially why is it that like, because if it's a one-off game, I get you in a one-off cup, I get that. But in the Champions League, this is over 2 legs, so
Yes.
it's less luck if it's over. So this season, for example, with City, with what Real Madrid did, like I would not say that was lucky, because had City taken their chance in the first leg and put 4 or 5 away, there's no discussion about the second leg. So
Yeah, but
and
the thing
then
is,
obviously conceding the 3 goals obviously let Madrid back into the game.
no, but I think that's unfair to say that, right? Because we
Okay.
saw the same thing happen across 3 different ties, right? They first done it to PSG, right? It's not like it was a once-off thing that just came and happened, right? But we've seen that pattern before of City having their chances and not taking them,
Yeah.
right? So it's nothing to surprise us of how it happened, whereby the other team has a much more clinical front line, and we saw it even against Liverpool in the final.
Yeah.
Liverpool had chances to kill the game; they didn't take them. Madrid just had one, and that is it. I feel as if some teams are better suited for cup competitions than others, and it's something you have to just take your hats off to certain teams, even systems.
Okay. We got to move on because we got a few other subjects. So let me know in the chat, guys. Who do you think wins the degree of difficulty? So let's focus on. I'm getting it, but we're not going to agree. We're not going to agree on a lot of these categories. So I'm going to let the chat decide. Like, who do you think wins that round? Pep Guardiola or Sir Alex Ferguson? Who wins the degree of difficulty debate in terms of what they achieve with their respective clubs? Let us know in the chat.
Where my City fans at? I need
Sorry?
to make sure that there's City fans in the chat.
Or retweet it. I
So
put it out. I put it out on Twitter, man. Retweet it on Twitter, man. Get a what's his name? Get Patrick on. Get Patrick.
As
Right.
this will just be a biased poll, and we're gonna lose everything. So all my City fans,
Right.
I know City fans are honest.
City. Well, United fans are honest as well. We know when we're garbage. We're not. Right. Next category is player management. So I mean, so what I mean by that is getting the best out of the players that you have, and obviously just managing players. That's obviously on the field, but also could be off the field as well in terms of how they are. So who would you say is the better player manager?
I'll give that to Sir Alex. I won't even. There's no point in
Is that because of Yaya? Is that? Is that? Bro, I take Juju seriously, man. So when you're saying a man says I'm cursing this man and he's not gonna, and he does that, all I'm saying is Pep Guardiola should find whatever witch doctor put that on and give him whatever he needs so that City can win this Champions League. And that's my go on.
I think Pep's thing is that thing of getting success too early.
Okay.
Right. I think it has the ability of making one arrogant if you're not grounded and if you're not surrounded by the right people. Because it's that thing of whereby you feel as if your opinion is best and you know best. So it's that thing of this is my way. It's my way or the highway.
Mm.
And when you're working with high caliber players, they want respect, right? They want you to at least acknowledge that no, they know or have an idea of what the hell they're doing. So I think Pep has learned it later on in his career. I think he's much more humble. Like it's not even by choice. I think football has humbled him, especially the Champions League. it has humbled him into taking a step back and listening more
Mm.
than trying to enforce his ideas across. So that one day I give it to Sir Alex. I think
Do
he
you
was a better
do you
manager.
also think in terms of developing players? Because I would always say
I,
that for like
no,
I think that and we'll obviously go on to tactics later, which I think is a different strategy. But I think that in terms of getting the potential out of average players, some even below average players, I would always give it. I've got to give it to Sir Alex Ferguson. When you look at some of the, I just don't think that if you took some of the players that Sir Alex Ferguson had and gave them to Pep Guardiola, he would have made them. It's like I always say, if Sir Alex Ferguson had the Barcelona squad, he would have won tons of Champions Leagues, or at
I
least
disagree.
you disagree? Okay.
The reason I disagree is I think when you're dealing with like great players, they expect you to give them a great system or something that caters to what they can do, or what they're best at. Whereas I feel as if the average players work better in a system,
Hmm.
because in a system you create a shield, something to protect they they limits,
Hmm.
right? So that's why I feel as if for Guardiola, right? Because if you look at Guardiola's system, dude, is the average player, I don't think could survive in it.
Hmm.
Or but then now the other the question is, if Guardiola couldn't work with average players, then how do you explain players like, for example, your Delphs, your Zinchenko's and whatnot, who he managed to transform into I wouldn't say secondary positions of theirs. For example, like Delph was playing as a left back, and most people don't realize that we've never really had a left back for a long time. We haven't had one, but you wouldn't notice that unless we play, for example, a big team who are good enough to exploit that. So I feel Guardiola's lack of player management is in the sense of your one-to-one relationship with players. Because I feel as if Guardiola is less patient than Sir Alex. Guardiola, it's more like, okay, your starting base needs to be just a bit above average for him to give you time and be interested in developing you. Right.
I'm
That's why
not
you
sure.
see
I'm
certain
not
players.
sure. I'm not sure. I completely disagree with agree with Sex. I mean, obviously, there's crossover eras. So obviously, back a lot of times back in the day, managers had a lot more, or a lot more authority. I think they were a lot more authoritarian and had a lot more power now. Sorry, back then than they do now. So and I think the thing with Sir Alex Ferguson was that it was because of what he'd achieved in the game up until that point, the legacy that he built himself, that command, that respect. Because it was like, listen, this is a dude that has dominated the Premier League, has won a treble, has won the trophies. You listen to this guy, you do what he says, and also that there is no player because the amount of like letting Beckham go, letting Stam go, letting Van Nistelrooy go, quality players because they were feeling that they were too bigger than the club and still being able to rebuild a squad. It's something that Sir Alex Ferguson did. I think the point I should make about it's not to say that Sir Alex Ferguson's tactics or strategy are actually better than Pep's. It's just the fact that I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson necessarily had a more a defined system than Pep, compared to Pep, aside from the standard um, like quick counter attack transition. But it's the fact that I think that Sir Alex Ferguson could almost like study the attributes of specific players, know what their weaknesses are, know what their strengths are, and then use that to win games. So that you never found that like, um, you know, so that's why like you can go through like a lot of Sir Alex Ferguson teams and go, well, I wouldn't necessarily say that that particular player was world class, but somehow because he was able to see the traits in those players, he could build teams that ultimately delivered world class performances. You could never say, for example, oh, this team was carried by this particular player. Of course, yeah, Ronaldo and Rooney did their bits and pieces, but it was never because of one or two individuals that that got Manchester United to where they were. If that makes any sense, similar to like a Klopp and obviously Pep now, in my opinion. If that makes sense.
The thing is, I think both have done it, but Sir Alex has more examples,
Mm,
right? He has a bigger sample of players that he's done it with, and
mm,
because of that, it'll always give him the edge.
mm,
Because like the example I was giving of the Abidals and whatnot, not every player that played under Pep was world class, but his system was so good that
mm,
they all looked world beaters whilst they were in it.
mm.
Whereas as soon as they left, you could actually see the deficiencies in these players.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, because Sir Alex has rebuilt his teams multiple times with average players in it, it's hard to argue against him.
Right. I'm going to quickly read some comments when we move on. Quickly read the super chat. Quickly thing. United Source 89 says, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support, United Source. Thank you so much for getting involved. Fergie had no business getting to a CL final with that 2011 team. I agree. Who else can win the league with Cleverley and Anderson in the midfield? I mean, technically, Cleverley and Anderson won in the midfield in that Champions League final in 2011, but they were on the bench.
Yeah,
That's that.
but no, no. But if you're honest, right?
Mm,
When Anderson burst off the scene, he was the next biggest thing, right? And then he didn't reach the height. It's not like he came as a bum. Even Fabio, I remember Fabio. I think it was Fabio and Rafael
mm.
when they came into United. They were
Yeah,
these
they were good. They were.
prodigies who were
Yeah.
supposed to be the next big thing. It's not like you took bums from wherever. So
Mm,
I think hence context needs to be given. When Anderson came in, because Anderson, I think his problem was discipline because he was becoming overweight and whatnot, but he could play. I remember I watched a couple of games Anderson playing. This guy had this. He's not a McTominay.
yeah, no, of
This was a
course,
player with
of course,
potential.
of course.
He said
So,
he
but
didn't realize that potential.
of course, but like Chelsea realized it with Lukaku, you can have potential, but you also
No,
got
no, no, no. Please,
consistency.
Anderson is a better footballer than Lukaku. Please do not use Lukaku as an example. I've watched Anderson play.
Don,
I remember,
Don, Don. Chelsea spent 100 million on man. Okay, so you don't spend 100 million on a player unless you think that this guy has got techers. This guy is good.
bro,
Do you not
we
think?
all knew this was a flop. This don't act like you acting
Wait,
as if Lukaku didn't play for United, dude. You knew who they were
well, I mean,
getting.
I knew, but a lot of Chelsea fans that I knew didn't seem to know. I mean, I've got certain videos, clips, and stuff like that of Chelsea fans saying that it's going to be Mount Havertz, and Lukaku, and they're just going to ball and they're going to do things. So, but apparently now Chelsea fans say differently. So it's interesting. Right, let me quickly go through because I've got to go in about 20 minutes. Is this guy a City fan? Did he watch Pep versus for City? So won a European Cup with Scottish team, 3 European Cups versus 2. SAF clear. Matt says, big up to everyone in the chat. Box, look at the transfer fees plus wage of club 90s plus the start of 2000. Premier teams were lagging behind in terms of, okay, that's their point. Don Smoke got you there. 101 Pep smash Svax for the finals. Svax, bad team tax, but that's on the Glazers. Yeah, that's a fair point. Ownership, terrible ownership with Manchester United compared to Pep. Pep has worked with good owners, Svax Ferguson. So that also factors into the dud argument, I think.
No, I disagree. I disagree. I disagree. Most people forget. No, most people forget how Pep came into Barca.
So I got put that just quickly. Mike says, "Nah, 2009 United were actually good until Eto'o scored." Yeah, 2009. I give Pep definitely, but 100%. That's definitely on them. 2011. I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Moses, we won the league by 1 point in the last day, man. We played the best team in Europe in the hardest ever CL run. It was ultimate dud. That's a fair point in that 1999 season. Won the league by 1 point. You beat that Arsenal squad that was closely invincibles, and then beating the best. It's come on, dog. Come on.
But RVS, to beat a team that's almost invincible means you were with them the whole time.
Do you see this comment as well on the screen as well? Does that also affect things?
No, it doesn't, man.
Mm.
The thing is this, right? At the end of the day, right? It's we have to judge you based on the tools that you have, not
Okay.
what you could have or could have had. That's all fantasy speaking, fantasy,
Okay.
and it's all wishy-washy kind of things, man. It's like,
Mm.
for example, let's say you are a judge at Mrs. World, right? You have two or three people in front of you, right? And then you have to pick who is Miss Universe, right?
Mm.
Are you gonna pick one because growing up she was ugly, and then became this beauty who's no, that doesn't matter. When you're here, we're gonna pick you for the criteria given to us.
In the beauty pageant criteria, see, this is the problem with this thing is that in the beauty pageant criteria, they don't just judge them just based on what they look like. They also
No, no,
judge
no, no, no,
based
no,
on
I'm
their
saying
they judge them based on like their story as well. So
no,
if the
no,
girl says to the audience, bro, I like they show a
no, no.
before picture, go on,
The,
okay,
the
go on.
story the stories for character, like, okay, because
Yeah,
of what I went through, these are the characteristics I've developed.
yeah,
What
exactly.
if I've developed those characteristics without going through the things you've gone through? Are you gonna say your confidence is better than mine because I have a different story?
But have you developed those characteristics? Going, that's the key thing.
No, but
Player management in this case is a good
so
example.
now let's put them on the table. The characteristics of the manager would be displayed by the team. For example, '09. What Sir Alex went through Aberdeen didn't manifest on the pitch. You know what I'm trying to say? At the end of the day, your story is good to get you into the door, but once
Okay,
you're there, now you have to perform.
okay,
You understand? So
okay,
once
yeah.
you're performing, you can't stop the performance. Like, okay, guys, you should value my performance more because of my story. Like, no, you performing. Yes, the story is good. It's nice. It's nice for a fairy tale, but now you're here. You need to perform and you need to win. That's what I'm trying to say. The thing is this: Pep came from the Barca B team,
Yep.
right? When he came to the first team, the only player he bought, I think, was Danny Alves.
Mm,
He removed even the big shots. Deco, Ronaldinho. He brought his own DM in Sergio Busquets, who he was playing with from the Barca B team. The
mm,
season before that, Barca finished third.
mm,
First was, I think, Madrid. Second was Villarreal or
mm,
Valencia. I'm not too sure. Villarreal was they finished third,
mm,
and they were many points behind. It's not like he came into a Barca team that was flourishing.
mm.
No, he came into the team
They
with a
weren't
new
garbage,
blueprint.
but they weren't garbage. Let's with it. They weren't.
Yeah, but they fell off.
Yeah, but like you still, they did. Like, but it's not like they were like if we're talking about coming like Sir Alex Ferguson. Where do you think Manchester United were before Sir Alex Ferguson came to them?
I'd be
They
lying
weren't.
if I said I knew.
They definitely were not like near the title by any chance. So I see what you're saying, but I think both managers could. But anyway, let's quickly
Yeah,
move
but,
on.
but now my question is, how many years? Because I think Fergie came into United in '86.
Yeah,
If I'm not, but they only won the first league, I think, in '92. So it took him
exactly,
6 years to
exactly,
win the league.
exactly.
So it's not
Because
like he came in,
no,
transformed the
exactly.
team, next season they won.
Exactly.
No.
But that's the point. So he needed time to build his team, his squad, because the United squad at the time was full of just dead, was full of bricks. Barcelona at least had a Pep was scoring a team that was, as you said, was third in La Liga, which had talented players, but just talented players that weren't necessarily performing at that time.
No, but they were third behind by 18 points.
Yeah, but then in the previous season, didn't they won the Champions League if I recall? I think.
In '06, I think in '06. Yeah. Then they fell off.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that it wasn't like he had to build like he had to refine it, but it's not like he had to build a team from scratch. Alex Ferguson really, really, really had to build an entire team and squad from scratch. Because you're going into a club where this is a club that's been relegated recently.
All right.
You know, so it's like of course it's going to take them. Let me quickly move on to achievements. Sorry, bro, because I've got to head off in about 15 minutes. Sorry, but thank you for coming on, man. Um, Achievement wise, um, I mean, obviously Pep Guardiola has won more. Well, no, Sir Alex Ferguson has won more trophies than Pep.
Yes.
Like logistically, he has. Um,
Yeah.
but do you think that Pep has achieved more in the game compared to Sir Alex Ferguson, or
I
is
think
it too young?
in the sense, the thing I would say is in the sense of Guardiola has left an imprint, is his own imprint in the game,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Whereby, for example, even for example, if Guardiola stops coaching, you will see elements of his style in the future,
mm,
and we could come back and say that no, they're playing like a Guardiola team, right?
mm,
So I think that goes into legacy. It's more like he cemented his legacy in the game, and in the sense that if now it's even one of the biggest examples I could give you is this, right? Besides England, every country Guardiola has coached in, they've won the World Cup. Guardiola was coaching Spain, and in 2010, Spain won the World Cup, and majority of the players were Guardiola's players who won it.
mm.
He went to the Bundesliga, right? In 2014, Germany won the World Cup. Majority of the players playing there were from his team, from his Bayern team. It's only
Okay.
in England. So what I'm trying to say is Guardiola teams normally dominate wherever they go,
Mm,
right? And in that sense, I would say he's left an imprint in the game because you could see that the way even Spain was playing, this is like Guardiola, this is like Barca playing.
mm,
The way Germany was, because before Guardiola, Germany were normally good in counter attacking. Like if you watch most cups, Germany they counter attack you. Whereby from Guardiola's time, it was more possession based in transition, the counter attack. So
mm.
that both elements of the game. It's only in England because of they have a brick of a manager.
Well, that's probably part of the reason. Although, I mean, to be fair, they still managed to get to a final and a semi-final. So it's obviously been
You
an
see
important.
what I'm trying to say. So
So,
and if you look at majority of the players in England are from Man City.
are they?
Stones, Walker, you had Foden, Sterling,
Okay, four. Okay.
right?
Then
Which other
United.
team has more players?
Well, United, you've got Maguire. Okay, I
Yeah,
know. I know he doesn't count, but he's still in the England
Maguire
squad.
and Shaw.
Maguire, sure. Rashford and Sancho.
Nah, man, I'm talking about players who are actually starting week like every game. Only Rashford you can count in there.
No, Maguire
You
start.
could say
Maguire's the main
I said
set.
2-3. No. I'm saying you have 2-3 players in Shaw, Rashford, and Maguire. Shaw, Rashford, and Maguire. So hence I'm saying majority of the players actually were from City.
There's. I mean, I see. Okay, I see a point that that Pep Guardiola has like
No,
it's
his influence
yeah
is beyond his team.
his influence and legacy is definitely there. Um, I guess I would say my own. I guess counter argument. I guess would be that well, Sir Alex Ferguson didn't leave that legacy in terms of like football tactics. I think
What
that
tactic?
sorry.
What all I know from Sir Alex is Fergie time.
Listen, Fergie time. It is. Listen, Fergie time. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know. So you play to the whistle. That's what you're told. That's literally what you're
Yeah,
always. You
for
play to the
me,
whistle.
that's why I remember
You know.
Fergie.
You
His
know.
legacy is Fergie time.
You play to the whistle. But Manchester United as a football club, you know, they would not be seen as one of the biggest clubs in world football if it was not for Sir Alex Ferguson. So he.
You know, I'm talking about okay. What I'm trying to say is this: when his legacy transcending his team, because I've given you examples of how Pep's legacy transcended the team he was coaching all the way up to the national team, right? So you're seeing his influence outside of his team. I'm talking about Fergie's influence outside of United. Fergie time.
I mean, I think I agree with you, but at the same time, it's like what I would disagree is that when you look at the managers that have come into the respective clubs that Pep has been at, they've also done or achieved similar. I get from the point of view as footballing philosophy, but in terms of the actual achievements at those clubs, there've been managers that have come into those clubs that have achieved more similar, if not more, than Pep
No,
did.
but no. With
So from
Barca,
an achievement point of view,
no.
sorry,
I'm saying, let's say Luis and Enrique, for example, right?
yeah,
What he achieved with Barca was mostly of the core which Pep left.
okay.
So outside of that core, Barca hasn't been successful.
But then if you look at the Bayern Munich, for example,
The thing is, Bayern
before
Munich, you only judge them in the Champions League because Bundesliga is a guaranteed. So Munich is never a good example, right?
okay, okay.
Barcelona, for me, I would say is the club which Pep had the biggest influence on, right?
Yeah, but
And if you
oh no,
see,
no, no. But you contradict yourself because you said that he took like a lot of the players that came in through that the Xavis, and stuff like that. Like he had no real direct involvement on, but obviously aside from obviously Sergio Busquets that he convinced to come through to academy. So
okay,
would
so
Xavi
Bayern is
beating
Kimmich.
Messi? Were they still not?
Kimmich.
Hmm? Oh, Kimmich.
I'm
Okay,
saying
good example. But I'm
he,
saying
he
those players would probably still be good if Pep Guardiola wasn't there.
not as good. No, because they
Are you
played
saying
before
Messi
Pep.
would? Are you saying Messi wouldn't be as good if Pep Guardiola wasn't there?
Remember, Pep is the one who put Messi in a false line position, right? And that
Okay.
was his best season till today.
Okay.
Because we don't know Messi before Pep, so we can't say Messi was what
Okay.
we don't know.
But
There is no Messi before Pep.
we know Ronaldo before Sir Alex Ferguson though.
You,
And look what happens.
but he came from. You see what I'm trying to say, in the sense that he came from Benfica, he came from Sporting, was in
Yeah.
Lisbon.
Yeah.
So you can't really judge.
And he was
You
a
can't
brick.
really judge that.
He was a brick. And even when he came to the
He
Premier
was
League,
19, man.
yeah, of course, yeah.
19. That's a kid, man.
Yeah, of course. And even when he came to the Premier League, he didn't start particularly well, but slowly but surely he got into the game, you know. So, but
Yeah,
but I mean,
what I'm trying to say,
go on, yeah.
no, I'm saying the Messi debate is always a mystery because we like Pep moved Ibra to the wing so Messi can play in the central role,
Mm,
right? And that was part of the problem why Ibra was mad, or even Eto,
mm.
right? So we don't know Messi without Pep. As much as people may say, the thing is, Messi is a phenomenon. He's a once in a lifetime player. But all of that happened whilst Pep was there first. Those numbers that he hit,
Yeah,
those
no, of course.
91 goals in a calendar
Yeah,
year. You
no, of
understand?
course,
So
of course,
he's
of
never
course.
hit. He's never even gotten close after that.
I mean, that campaign for Barca, that Champions League run before they got knocked out by Liverpool, I think was fairly close, which one why he got the Ballon d'Or for. So, but I see your point. Let's quickly move on. Just last topic actually. So, because I've got to bounce. Sorry. Tactics. This is going to be. I assume this is going to be fairly quick, which is why I've chosen it. So I could go. I'll give events like okay. I can see that Pep has the superior system compared to Sir Alex Ferguson. So Pep has the superior. I get that. What I just would say though is that I think that I do like how I think Sir Alex Ferguson's like in-game management. I think at times is better than Pep. So you know, plus or minus Fergie time. I think there were certain things like certain high pressure points. I just think that Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't over compared to Pep, who at times just overthink things. I think Sir Alex Ferguson just wouldn't. Like he would find a way, assuming that the squad is capable. Okay, because sometimes we're just not the better team. Full stop. So, but very rarely it's because, oh my goodness, Alex Ferguson got his tactics completely wrong. He was awful, some of that. A lot of times, just like, listen, the squad just wasn't as capable or better compared to the other squad or whatever they whatever. But when it came to like in-game management, I just think that I would ride with like Sir Alex Ferguson, even though I think that overall his system was worse compared to whatever system it was compared to Pep. Whereas with Pep, it's almost like if the system doesn't work, like what do I do? That for me is the issue. It's like if your plan A doesn't work, what's your plan B? And I think Sir Alex Ferguson at least would think of a plan B, even if you don't know what it was. He at least come up with something, as opposed to Pep, where when his system has not worked, it's like I don't know how to adapt to this other than just trying to play my similar system again. If that makes sense.
The way I'll put it is this, right? I think Pep having to work with Barca, one of the best club teams, club squad he's ever worked with, is actually it's actually to his own it's actually to his own disadvantage in the sense that I don't know what industry or field you're in, right? Outside of YouTube, right? Like I'm in IT, right? Let me give an example. Let's say, for example, I work at my first job is at Google, Facebook, or even Amazon, right? The tools that I'm gonna be exposed to there is of such high caliber that if my next job is at a smaller shop, I may get stuck at times because of what I'm used to getting myself out of trouble, right? The thing is, what Pep does now may seem like overthinking because of the caliber of players he's working with, right? Whereby to a Xavi, Iniesta, or Busquets, those instructions would be small, light work. You get what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
So it's more like he needs to remind himself of I'm not playing with those caliber of players anymore. Or to a Messi, you may be like, no, you're gonna take on 2 or 3 guys. When you do that, you release the ball, not knowing that maybe he's talking to a Sterling. You get what I'm trying to say. So
I think so.
at times that is when now having to work with average players is actually to your own to your advantage because you know how to do more with less.
Mo Water says, what tactics does Pep have? He's a better coach, but he uses a system that requires a certain type of player. Pep is a better coach, but Sir Alex Ferguson had far better tactics and tactical flexibility. And
I
maybe
refuse.
and maybe
I
the last
disagree.
and maybe it's the last. I think what I would say is maybe it's the last 2 words, tactical flexibility. How flexible actually are Pep's tactics? And maybe it's that inflexibility that has caused him problems in the past. I think he's getting
No,
better recently, slightly, but I don't know.
I don't think it's inflexibility. I think it's too many tactics,
Too
right?
many tactics.
Whereby a player is now left dumbfounded because they stuck. Like I don't know. It's like when you have a brain freeze, like
Okay.
too much information of overload, whereby you now just freeze. Hence, I'm saying it's
No,
actually
no, no. I think that's. I think no. I think that there are like, for example, like in when Liverpool in the season where like Liverpool won this season and also in the Champions League, it was clear. Like Liverpool, like Klopp had specific tactics. So like press City high up the field, so not allowed to sort of like continue their transition. They don't have enough time on the ball. High press, high energy, etc., to disrupt the flow. So that was the thing. So rather than look at that and adapt to that and say, right, okay, we can't continue to do what we're doing. It's almost like, from what I could see, when Pep was like, oh no, we'll just continue doing what we're doing and hope that we'll get a different result. And that didn't work. Whereas like another manager would go, this pressing is going to work. So you know what I'm going to do? We're going to just long ball. We're going to long ball up to us. So just get a tall striker up there, get them to hold up to the ball to relieve pressure from the defenders and relieve some pressure. Bring on someone. So that's something that maybe Sir Alex Ferguson would have done. Okay, get long ball up, kick it up there, and that way that we can release some of the pressure from us. But Pep wouldn't do something like that. So that's what I mean with I don't necessarily think it's like this players have too much tactics. It's that even though I think he's got better at it recently, for quite a lot of his stay at City and at Bayern, and towards the end of his stay at Barcelona, when he was starting to get found out a bit, it was like, I'm not prepared to change the way that I play if Plan A doesn't work. I'll just make a
Yeah.
like for like change, and I think that's where I think that you can make a case that even though he has a superior system, that tactically, I don't know whether he's as good as Sir Alex Ferguson because of that
No, but
inflexibility.
no. I think if you say taxi, that they are the thing is maybe he may have limited profiles within his squad because one thing for
But he picks
example,
the squad though.
you may say that Sir Alex has better dynamic players because when it comes to tactics, like for example, playing long balls, you need certain kind of players. For example, you may need a target man, right? You may need certain different profiles to play that to have that flexibility. But as for tactically, Pep beat Sir Alex twice, and he couldn't change the game.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree.
if he was really tactically, because remember, for example, like I think it was years after when Sir Alex says no, he feels as if he got his tactics wrong in one of those games.
Oh
So
nine, oh nine.
oh
Let,
nine, you get what I'm trying to say. So you can't say your manager is tactically flexible, but lose twice to the same team who plays the same
yeah,
team who plays in a similar manner.
the only thing I would say about that is that like it's at the same time he's still going up against one of like the best teams in Europe that seen with the quality of players they have. Like when you look at who Pep has lost in like recent events, sorry, in recent years, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Leon, the likes of Spurs, etc. You wouldn't say that
Yeah.
those teams have like brilliant managers and tactically adapt teams and systems, etc. So they're not. So why did he lose? Why did he lose to those teams? He
That's
lost
on
to
Pep.
those teams because of that. For me, from what I can see, anyway, that tactical inflexibility. You know. So
I think that what I would say is there's always been an element of stubbornness with Pep, right? It's more like I feel that if we keep doing what I say what I say we should do, we're gonna win.
mm,
And of recent, he's been humbled, and I don't know whether I forgot which stream I was on. I was saying that recently Pep is actually gaining humility.
yeah,
That's
just
why
talking
you
about
see
yeah,
now. Yes, recently he now makes subs earlier. Hence, even you saw in that game against Aston Villa,
mm,
whereby he made a sub at halftime,
mm,
literally brought Zini on because he
yeah,
realized that what I was doing is not working. Whereby before he would persist with whatever he was doing. It's
yeah,
not that he's tactically inflexible. No, he's stubborn and and he's always been a bit arrogant, saying that no, if we do what I say we do, eventually we're gonna win. So I think that one there, football will humble you eventually,
yeah.
and it's beginning to humble him.
Well, guys, I've got to bounce. Don, man, Don, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a good discussion, even though it's a versus. It's been a good discussion from the points. So we got to get the Guardiola versus Mourinho one. That is going to happen though on this channel. We're going to get HH winnings free. We're going to do that, and it's going to be wild. But thanks so much for coming on the show, guys. Guys, remember if you use channel to like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio for Twitter X, smash notification and the like button. Make sure you follow Don at Don Smoke on Twitter. Find him on Twitter, buddy. Have a nice day, everyone, and cheers.
Cheers, gents.